What's up, guys? Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. It's been a minute since I've done that. It's been a while, since like October, since I've done an actual Photoshop tutorial. So you guys have been asking for it. I'm gonna go over today how to use the color balance tool and the power of color balancing. So I'm gonna be using Photoshop, and I'm gonna show you guys how to do it in Photoshop, but this does pertain to pretty much anything. It doesn't matter what you're on. It'll be slightly different for whatever editor you're using, but the principles are the same, and that's what I want to go over. I'm going to show you 3 different ways that I routinely use color balancing to help bring out more creativity and enhance my images. And like I said, this can be used in Photoshop or any other editor that can do this. Even if you're on your phone, Snapseed, Lightroom Mobile, all that stuff can do this. So this is definitely to help you think about editing and the editing process and how to up your creativity. So let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop and get started. Alright, so let's talk about the first scenario that I use color balancing for a lot, and that is for skin tones, things like lip color, eye color, that sort of thing, and then also for just split toning and portraits. So here is the image that I am working with, and here's the color toning that I already did. So let's take that off. That's what it looked like out of the box after I got done with the other editing stuff. So the color balancing is usually one of the later things that I do after I've done everything else. So the first thing is that I like to do is address the lips. So sometimes even when you punch up saturation or whatever, the lip color is just a little lackluster, and she's not really wearing any lipstick here, so that's maybe another reason. So let's go see how to fix that. I'm just going to delete these 2 layers and then we'll come back to that. So to make the color balance, what you need to do is come up here to adjustments, and we're going to go to this little balancey symbol here next to the saturation. That is our color balance tool. By default, it's going to set you to midtones. So there's shadows, midtones, and highlights, and this is super important for the areas of the image and the colors that you want to affect. So we can see here in the lips, there's a lot of midtones there. So we're going to start with the midtones. And for right now, we're just going to do a global adjustment, and it's going to look like crap. So I'm going to slide this red over. I'm going to slide the yellow over a little bit just to give it a little bit warmer, and maybe just a hair of magenta, and then maybe just a little more red. So like I said, this is looking horrible. So what we're going to do is hit Control-I. That's going to invert the mask. Now we're going to get B. We're going to hit B for our brush, and we're going to hit X over here. We're going to make sure that we're on white. So that's going to switch us to, we're going to be painting with white. I'm going to zoom in here now, and I'm just going to come down here to opacity and change it to something light, like 25% or so. I'm going to make sure my hardness is on 0, and then I'm going to use my bracket keys to control my size. And now I'm just going to start painting. And if you need to, you can adjust the opacity if you want to bring it up and get it done a little faster. And then when you're done, I'm just going to hit Control-0 and back out. So you might not notice anything right now, so turn it on and off, and then you can see the difference. And you can decide if that's too much or too subtle. And you can come back up here to the midtones where we were tweaking, and you can bring those down a bit or readjust or whatever. And then we can go into the shadows, because there is a little bit of shadow and darker parts on her lips, and we can say bring those reds up just a little bit. So we can tweak this until we get it where we like it, and then on and off again. If we decide that's still too much, then we can either go back with the brush and paint with black over it, or we can just reduce the opacity a little bit. So I'll bring it down to 70%, and that's subtle, but that's looking a lot better. It's giving her lips a little more definition, a little more color, and I like where that's headed. So we can also do this for skin tones. If we go up here again and make a new color balance adjustment layer, then we can kind of mess around with the skin tone if we want to bring up the warmth a little bit of just the skin. And so this is the global. So again, we're going to hit Control-I and paint our brush back in, and we're just going to paint over the skin tones now, especially on this right side where it's warmer, or where we want it to be warmer. There's the difference. And again, this is very subtle. So that's on and it's off, and it's very, very subtle. And you can go as hard or as subtle as you want. So, you know, if we increase that, we can make her look like a scary Oompa Loompa. Or we can just bring it back down and keep it nice and subtle and have her skin tones looking really good. So those are the two ways that I use color balancing to fix things like that. You can also do the same thing to change eye color. I'm not going to do it on hers because she has brown eyes, and I don't think that's necessary for this one, but you can also use color balance to change eye color. So the next way that we're going to use color balance is for an overall split toning look. So let's go ahead and create another color balance adjustment. And this is where we're going to get into the shadows. So this is something that I've been doing lately, and if you guys like this, let me know if you like this look, because I'm considering making some presets, but if you're not interested in presets, this is kind of how you do it. So I'm going to go up here to shadows first. So for the split toning for this look, I want the shadows to be more of a blue, so I'm going to bring those shadows down, but I don't want them to be that kind of a blue. I'm going to add a little bit of cyan in there to make it a little slightly greener, just a hair, but not much. So I'm liking that. And at first when you look at this, it might look too much, but just wait until we're going to go down to the highlights now, and we're going to do the opposite. So for the highlights, we're going to introduce a little more yellow and just a little more red, so a warmer tone, an orangish tone. That's going to give us that split toning of the blues and oranges, because blues and oranges are complementary colors. If you want to know more about shooting in complementary colors and editing in complementary colors, check out this video I did right up here. So now we're starting to see that color contrast, and that's going to help make the image pop more. So there it is with it on, and there it is with it off, how we had it just out of the camera. And you can tell that's giving it a lot more pop and a lot more color contrast. And it's also controlling the mood and how you feel. So color is very important in controlling the mood of the image and the story that you're trying to tell. So that's about all I want to do to this image. I think it's ready to roll. Let's go. So now let's go check out a landscape and see what we can do to the landscape. So here is a landscape that I shot the other day, and I just wanted to add a little bit of mood to it. Here it is after I got done with all the other editing, but the colors and everything, the contrast is still basically straight out of camera. So here is the color balance that I added to it. So let's go see what I did. So again, I came up to the shadows, and I'm playing around with the blues, and I'm adding a little bit more blues into it, and the same thing with the cyans. I'm bringing it a little more towards the cyan, so we're getting these nice blues and these darker tones in these shadows. And then in the highlights, same thing. I came up here and just very subtly, these highlights are already really strong because we had such intense backlight, so I didn't need to do too much to that. So I just bring up the yellows just a little bit here, and then just a hint of red for a slightly more warmy feel, and then that's it. And then you'll notice I didn't do anything to the midtones here. The midtones can really swing an image. So the midtones are largely what most of your image is going to be. Most of your image, if you look on a histogram, is going to be in your midtones. So that really has a power to affect things, and you really need to be careful how you're swinging your midtones. So you could go, you know, for a more sci-fi look, or, you know, I mean, color balancing is really powerful, but in this case, I just want something subtle. I don't want to do anything to the midtones. So I'm just liking that nice bit of blue and orange color contrast, again, just to make this scene pop a little bit more, especially in these shadows right here, leading your eyes to this beautiful backlight. All right, so that's gonna about wrap it up. So let's hop out of the computer. All right, so that was it. That was the 3 ways that I use the color balance tool. And like I said before, I really think that the color balancing tool is really powerful and often overlooked, because I surprisingly get a lot of questions about how I got a certain look, or how I did the split toning, or anything like that. And it's always comes down to color balancing. So by learning this technique, I hope that'll help you push your creativity further and help you get the looks that you're looking for and help you fix the images and all of that kind of stuff. If you have any questions about anything that I went over or didn't go over concerning color balancing, leave those in the comments below and I'll definitely answer them. If you guys have any other suggestions for tutorials you want to see in Photoshop, also leave those in the comments below, because I love knowing what you guys want to know and I love helping you guys out. And if you haven't already, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Hit that like button if this video helped you out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.